I am your fabulous godmother.
This outfit would have been so right at home on the Pose runway, right?
It would have, yes. You know, to being Pose, you know, living inside of the literal impossibility of something like Pose and a character like Pray Tell and changing the landscape and, you know, becoming, you know, the very thing that everybody said would be my liability, my queerness. It's some change the world shit. So,
in your own life, who was the loudest no voice?
the church. The Pentecostal church. I grew up in the Pentecostal church. And you know, queer and Pentecostal is like oil and water. They do not mix. My record label and my producers had given my song to Celine Dion. And that was the moment. I left that company that day. I walked in and I let them know that I did not move to New York to be a demo singer for Celine Dion. No shade. No shade. She's fabulous. No shade. But I didn't come here to be a demo singer for Celine Dion. So y'all can keep whatever this is. Whatever this is, y'all can keep it. I'm out.
Why would anyone, male or female, gay or straight, prefer a penis which has been hacked within an inch of its life?
I don't know. When I came to America, first of all, and was, you know, having a fun time and showing my penis to a lot of people, and I was shocked by how people were sort of looking at me and looking at my penis and going, "What is that? You know, what does that do?" It was a really weird experience. Like, I was just me. Here's my body. It's always been the same. This is like what other people look like, where I come from, and suddenly someone is pointing at a bit of it, a very important bit of it, to a man, and saying that I'm weird. And that's what started me off. And I thought, that there's another mind fuck, that people have been so conditioned to thinking being circumcised is normal, and you know, being intact is not. So I just don't get it.
Well, it was when I first realized that I was attracted to guys. I mean, I still was with women. I mean, I've been with both my whole life, that's true. But some relationships work better than others. I remember seeing The Boy from Oz when I was little and thinking, being gay looks so much better. The first time I really was attracted to a guy was when I was at NIDA. And I told everyone, and I said, I'm gay, you know, I'm completely 100%, I'm so happy. A couple of teachers took me into an office who were both gay themselves and said, you can't tell anyone that you're gay because you will never work. I got criticized, like, in private messages from people within the community saying, you should be ashamed of yourself. You don't know who I'm sleeping with. Sometimes it was with a guy, sometimes it was with a girl. Like, that's just who I was. And there's a lot of guys out there and a lot of girls out there that say that they've had sex with me that haven't, actually. And I'm not saying that I didn't wish that I had, because I wasn't getting much at all. And we were very naughty boys. There was a kitchen scene that had everyone, including Michael Caton, like Grandad. And there was a scene where George and I had to just walk into the kitchen. And I just walk in, go straight to the fridge, get something out, and go and sit down at the table. And we just did it naked. Oh, yes. He's very naughty. Yeah.
Back early in your career, there was a period when Time magazine thought that putting a famous lesbian on its cover was groundbreaking purely because she was gay. And that's the opposite of normalising all of us who are queer. And no wonder you said no.
No, I did. I was, you know, I was tempted to get on to take the cover, but I was more revulsed by them thinking that I would sell myself just to be on the cover of their magazine. I'd also just done Nashville. It was the first movie I'd done, and the interviewer asked me, you know, what was it like, Lily, to see yourself making love to a man on the big screen? And then I would answer, I'd say, well, I've seen these women all my life. I know how they walk. I know how they talk. And I gave all the cliched answers that people who played a gay role and wanted to make sure that the public knew they were not gay, I sort of flipped those answers.
What did you think when you heard that Grace and Frankie were going to market vibrators? Were you and Jane consulted about that little plot line?
No, not so much. No, Marty just handed it to us.
No, it's designed specifically for the older adult woman with hand or wrist issues.
What would you like us to do with it?
What do you think they want us to do with it?
We always meet with her before a season starts, and she tries to kind of roughly sketch out what the season will be. And so we were okay with that, but we didn't want it to be like the major theme, and it became bigger and bigger. It seemed to become a major theme of our activities, but it was for a good cause. It was for, older people, and for women to express their sexuality, and with big lettering and easy grips and things like for their carpal tunnel. And so it was it was fun and it was well received. Yeah. I had relatives writing me, some relatives in the South writing me saying, like, send me one of those vibrators. I said, listen, if these vibrators worked, I could have sold them for a pretty good sum.
I'm sure that you and Kirk got a few minutes to just sit and talk. What was he like?
Look, Kirk was a highly energized, very dynamic personality. And let's not forget that he was a bona fide Hollywood movie star who'd starred in many films and also produced his own film, Spartacus, Paths of Glory. And I think Kirk felt a little bit like he was in Mickey Mouse land, a little bit. And he was quite a dominating personality. I think I can say that. And also the other thing was he was a great script editor. He said, I said that in the other scene. I don't need to say that again. And he cut his own lines. He was demanding of the people around him, and he was demanding of himself. I don't think we could say that, we became close friends.
Were you reminded that he was the movie star and you were the novice?
Yes. yes, definitely. He definitely would make our relative status, quite clear and obvious, which, was fair enough. Tom, if you don't say anything in this scene, it's going to be good. Thank you very much, Mr. Douglas. I mean, had me calling him Mr. Douglas for the first 2 or 3 days before I said, do you mind if I call you Kirk? He said, oh, please. He made it quite clear who had the power.
Debbie Novotny was the role model mum that so many of us wished we had.
I was so attracted to the role of Debbie. Someone had sneaked me the script. And I read it, and I called Showtime, who produced it. And I went after that part.
You certainly did bring class, including that scene where Ted and Emmett bring some dildos out to teach you how to do blowjobs. You weren't afraid to do anything on screen, were you?
Barney was on the set. My husband was on the set the day we shot that. He'd flown up to Canada, and he watched me shoot that scene, and I kept hoping he would say, she doesn't need lessons, boy. She didn't say anything. He just sat there and watched it. It was a fun scene. Yeah. Very, very fun.
Cagney and Lacey was also groundbreaking, in this case for women. And there'd never been a show like that.
Well, actually, the person responsible for pushing that change for women was a man. And I ended up marrying him 10 years later. First feminist I ever met was Barney Rosenzweig, and he carried that script around with him for 7 years trying to sell it. Nobody wanted any part of it. It was easier selling Queer as Folk than it was selling a show about two women.
Tell us about the viewers that gave you some feedback. What sort of things did they say?
I got mail, quite a bit of mail from young boys. I'll just give you an example of one boy's letter to me, that his best friend, he thanked me for the role I was playing, and that they'd never had anything like this before.
And that his best friend didn't get a chance to see the show. He'd never seen it, and he killed himself. He ended his life because he thought there was nobody that was like him. And I used to get mail quite often like that queer as folk saved young men's lives because they got to see someone who was like them, and it was all right. Believe me, I had no idea when I asked to be on the show that it would be that powerful. I still, not as often, but I still have men come up, they're older now, but come up to me on the street. Barney and I'll be walking down the street and they'll ask for a hug from Debbie. And I always give it. Always.
You've got the most beautiful buildings at Port Isaac, and you use the exteriors for those, and yet you've gone to all the trouble to recreate the interiors inside this barn, and yet the rooms inside there are probably no bigger than the ones in the houses in Port Isaac. Why do you go to so much trouble?
You could fit the whole house in one of those rooms in that set. It just means you can move cameras around and you can do things differently. We can take walls out so that you can put a nice lens on a camera and get far away. It just gives you versatility. It gives us somewhere to hide when the crowds are in or when the weather's bad. But we filmed in lots of the houses in Port Isaac, but just not, first season we did film a tiny bit inside the house that is the real Doc's surgery, but we rapidly learnt that you need a studio.
Now, your character, Doc Martin, is an absolute total bugger. You listed all his bad qualities in the beginning of season 7.
I was an unwanted child. I failed to develop a normal attachment to my parents, resulting in an inability to form adult relationships. I exhibit poor communication skills, I have unrealistic expectations of others, and a blood phobia. You will diagnose attachment disorder.
What is it about him that you can actually admire?
Oh boy, loads. I love his encyclopedic knowledge of medicine, and his curiosity and his passion for his subject, and his just all-round dexterous ability with a scalpel, and everything the Doc does right is what you want from a man in a suit.
Not for both of you to be happy.
I think happiness is overrated.
You're famously gay and out. Was there ever a time you wish you weren't?
Oh God, yes. When I was, that weird twilight time between like 12 and 13, when you're fancying the PE teacher, and you're like, because people don't really understand it. It's very odd. You don't fancy any of the girls. You're chatting to the dinner lady about Golden Girls, and and it's just like, and then. Yeah, and then I was like, oh no, because I remember I was like goofy, fat, glasses. My dad was manager of the vocal football team. And then I started being gay. I was like, oh no, not today, Satan. This is the last thing I need. So yeah, that's probably when I was straight. But now I love being gay, and I think it's great the way it's going. And listen, I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but the way we're going now, you're seeing like men, like Harry Styles, just looking so fabulous and flamboyant. And I know he's not gay, but I mean, well, we don't know, do we? Is he, isn't he? But just men going there wearing high heels and painting their nails and stuff. I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel very. I always come across as Jason Statham. I mean, I feel like quite unimaginative when you see the gays now. And I'm like, oh, I just wear jeans and Crocs.
Hi, I'm Lily Tomlin, and I want to encourage you all to tune in to Live from Stonewall and catch my interview with Ian.